In the vast universe of competitive sports, millions of games are played every year. Billions of moments unfold on fields, courts, and tracks around the world. Yet among this ocean of athletic competition, certain events stand so far beyond the curve of probability that mathematicians struggle to calculate their likelihood. These are not merely rare occurrences. They are moments that shatter our understanding of chance itself, events so improbable that witnessing one in a lifetime makes you among the most fortunate observers in human history. When we say 1 in a trillion, we're talking about odds so astronomical they dwarf everyday comparisons. You're more likely to be struck by lightning twice in your lifetime than to witness most of these moments. More likely to find a specific grain of sand on a beach. The human brain struggles to comprehend numbers this large, which is precisely why these events feel less like sports and more like witnessing something supernatural. Yet they happened. They were recorded, verified, and studied. And the mathematics behind them is as solid as the disbelief they inspire. In baseball, a perfect game requires a pitcher to retire every single batter they face without allowing anyone to reach base. No hits, no walks, no errors, no hit batsman. 27 up, 27 down. In the modern era of Major League Baseball, spanning over a century and hundreds of thousands of games, only 23 perfect games have ever been recorded. The odds of any single game being perfect are roughly 1 in 10,000. But that's merely the foundation for understanding truly impossible moments. In August 2015, Leicester City Football Club began the English Premier League season with odds of 5,000 to 1 against winning the championship. They'd barely survived relegation the previous year. Their entire squad cost less than a single player on rival teams. Bookmakers offered those odds as a publicity stunt, never imagining anyone would actually bet on such an impossibility. What unfolded over the next 9 months defied every mathematical model, every expert prediction, and every precedent in modern football history. By May 2016, Leicester City were champions of England. To understand Leicester's achievement, consider what they overcame. They competed against teams with 10 times their budget. They had no world-class stars, no legendary manager, no history of sustained success. Statistical analysts calculated the actual odds of their championship run at closer to 1 in 2 million when accounting for all variables. Some models suggested figures even more extreme. They won when mathematical models gave them a 0.01% chance. They sustained that form across 38 games, never collapsing despite constant pressure. Leicester's triumph sent shockwaves through the sports world that extended far beyond football. Bookmakers lost millions paying out bets they'd assumed were free money. Statistical models were rewritten to account for variables previously considered negligible. The win proved that absolute underdogs could overcome systemic advantages that seemed insurmountable. It gave hope to every small club, every overlooked team, every athlete told they didn't belong. And it reminded the world that sport, at its core, remains beautifully, mysteriously unpredictable. Basketball offers its own category of impossible moments, but few compare to the statistical absurdity of half-court shots at the buzzer. The average NBA player makes approximately 5% of half-court attempts in practice, without defenders, without pressure, without consequence. In game situations, with everything on the line, that percentage drops to near zero. Yet on rare occasions, when time expires and hope fades, a player launches a desperate heave that somehow finds its target. These aren't just lucky shots. They're probability-defying miracles captured on camera. December 9, 2004. The Houston Rockets trailed the San Antonio Spurs by 8 points with 35 seconds remaining. The game was over by any reasonable assessment. Then Tracy McGrady scored 13 points in the final 33 seconds, including 4 three-pointers, to complete the comeback. Not 13 points in a quarter. Not 13 points in a minute. 13 points in less time than it takes to read this paragraph. Mathematical analysis suggests the odds of this sequence occurring were approximately 1 in 100 million. McGrady's sequence required not just making shots, but making them under championship-level defensive pressure while trailing, while exhausted, while carrying the weight of an entire arena's fading hope. He made contested three-pointers on consecutive possessions. He drew fouls and made free throws between buckets. He didn't just play well, he played perfectly during the only 33 seconds in a full game where perfection would matter. One missed shot ends the comeback. One defensive stop by San Antonio erases the miracle. Instead, everything fell. December 23, 1972. The Pittsburgh Steelers faced fourth down against the Oakland Raiders in a playoff game, trailing by 1 point with 22 seconds remaining. Quarterback Terry Bradshaw threw a desperation pass that deflected off a defender. The ball tumbled through the air, nearly hitting the ground before running back Franco Harris caught it at his shoe tops and ran for a touchdown. The play became known as the immaculate reception, and physicists later calculated the ball's trajectory suggested odds approaching 1 in 10 million. What makes the immaculate reception truly impossible isn't just that Harris caught a deflected pass. It's the specific physics required for the sequence to unfold. The ball had to hit the defender's hands at precisely the right angle to redirect toward Harris rather than falling incomplete. Harris had to be in exact position, running at exact speed, to arrive as the ball descended. The ball had to maintain enough spin and velocity to stay airborne long enough for Harris to reach it. Change any variable by inches or milliseconds, and the play fails. For decades, controversy surrounded the immaculate reception. Rules at the time stated that if the ball touched an offensive player before the deflection, the catch would be illegal. Film from 1972 was grainy, angles were limited, and definitive proof remained elusive. Raiders fans insisted the ball hit Steelers receiver Frenchie Fuqua before the deflection. Steelers fans saw only a Raiders defender making contact. The officials ruled it legal. The touchdown stood. The controversy endured for 50 years, adding layers of impossibility to an already impossible play. April 14, 2019. Tiger Woods walked onto Augusta National Golf Club for the final round of the Masters tournament ranked 14th. He hadn't won a major championship in 11 years. He'd undergone 4 back surgeries, including spinal fusion. Doctors told him he might never play competitive golf again. Experts wrote him off as a nostalgia act. Vegas gave him 14-1 odds. By the end of that Sunday afternoon, Tiger Woods had claimed his 5th green jacket, completing what many consider the greatest comeback in golf history. To understand Tiger's 2019 Masters victory, you must understand the medical gauntlet he survived. Spinal fusion surgery typically ends athletic careers. The procedure literally fuses vertebrae together, eliminating natural flexibility. Doctors considered it a success if Tiger could play golf recreationally without pain. Competitive golf at the highest level seemed beyond impossible. Yet Tiger not only returned to competition, he returned to dominance. He outdrove players 20 years younger. He outputted golf's finest. He conquered Augusta's demanding course with a body that medicine said shouldn't function at that level. After securing the victory, Tiger Woods embraced his children behind the 18th green, recreating the iconic moment when he'd hugged his father after his first Masters win in 1997. 22 years separated those embraces. In between lay dominance, scandal, injury, public humiliation, and physical agony that would have ended lesser athletes. The 2019 victory wasn't just about golf. It was about human resilience. About refusing to accept limitations. About proving that impossible is just a word people use before someone proves them wrong. Sometimes a 1 in a trillion moment isn't about overcoming odds over time, but about a single instance so perfectly executed it defies rational explanation. In basketball, golf, football, and other sports, we occasionally witness shots or plays where every variable aligns in a way that probabilistic models suggest should never happen in recorded human history. These moments often occur when stakes are highest, when pressure is greatest, when failure seems certain. And yet, athletes somehow find a way to deliver perfection precisely when it matters most. June 11, 1997. Michael Jordan arrived at the Delta Center in Salt Lake City for Game 5 of the NBA Finals severely ill with what was reportedly food poisoning or a stomach virus. He could barely stand during warm-ups. He was visibly weak, dehydrated, and shaking. His trainer didn't think he could play. Yet Jordan scored 38 points, grabbed 7 rebounds, and hit the decisive three-pointer with 25 seconds remaining to give the Chicago Bulls a crucial victory. The performance became known simply as the flu game. Medical experts later analyzed Jordan's performance and concluded that what he accomplished shouldn't have been physiologically possible. Severe dehydration impairs muscle function, coordination, and cognitive processing. Food poisoning causes weakness that makes basic movement difficult. Jordan wasn't just playing basketball, he was playing championship-level basketball against elite defenders while his body was shutting down. He made jump shots that require perfect balance while struggling to maintain equilibrium. He drove to the basket with explosive speed while his muscles lacked proper hydration. He willed impossibility into reality. Sports analysts have spent decades trying to quantify clutch performance, attempting to determine whether athletes actually perform better under pressure or if it's merely perception and selective memory. The data generally shows that most athletes perform worse in high-pressure situations. Heart rates elevate, muscles tighten, and decision-making suffers. Which makes the handful of athletes who consistently deliver in crucial moments even more remarkable. They're not just good. They're operating in a realm that statistical analysis struggles to explain, repeatedly doing what math says they shouldn't be able to do. October 2004. The Boston Red Sox faced elimination in the American League Championship Series, trailing the New York Yankees 3-0. No team in Major League Baseball history had ever recovered from a 3-0 deficit in a playoff series. The Yankees led Game 4 by a run in the ninth inning, 3 outs from a sweep. Then the Red Sox rallied, won in extra innings, and proceeded to win 3 more consecutive games to claim the series. Statistical models calculated the odds of this comeback at approximately 1 in 400 million. Boston's comeback carried additional weight beyond mere statistics. The Red Sox hadn't won a World Series since 1918, an 86-year drought fans attributed to the curse of the Bambino after the team sold Babe Ruth to the Yankees. The psychological burden of that history made the 3-0 deficit feel like inevitable confirmation of the curse. Yet the 2004 team refused to accept historical inevitability. They won 4 straight against their greatest rival, then swept the World Series. They didn't just beat astronomical odds. They shattered the weight of nearly a century. What all these moments share is a reminder that sports, despite our efforts to quantify and predict them, remain fundamentally human endeavors. Algorithms can calculate probabilities. Statistical models can project likely outcomes. But they can't account for the intangible factors that sometimes override mathematical certainty. Will, determination, belief, heart, whatever you choose to call it, occasionally these human qualities produce results that numbers say shouldn't exist. This isn't mysticism. It's acknowledgement that complex systems with human variables sometimes generate outlier events that redefine what we consider possible. In tennis, the probability of winning a match when down match point is approximately 15% for elite players. That number drops to 5% when down multiple match points. It approaches 0 when down championship point in a Grand Slam final against the world's best player. Yet Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic, and other legends have saved championship points and won matches that every statistical model declared already over. These aren't anomalies. They're testament to a level of mental fortitude that exists beyond the reach of probability theory. July 14, 2019. Roger Federer served for the Wimbledon Championship at 8-7 in the 5th set against Novak Djokovic. He held 2 championship points, moments away from a record 9th Wimbledon title. Djokovic saved both. The match continued to a tiebreak, where Federer fought off match points of his own before ultimately losing. Yet the fact that a 37-year-old Federer even reached that position, competing at that level, generating championship points against prime Djokovic, defied every aging curve in tennis analytics. Professional tennis is a young athlete's game. Physical demands favor explosive speed, quick recovery, and joints not yet worn by decades of competition. Historical data shows that tennis players peak between ages 23 and 27, with steep decline beginning around 30. Federer competing for Wimbledon titles at 37 wasn't just impressive, it was a statistical aberration that broke every predictive model. His performance suggested that the rules governing athletic decline might not be as absolute as science assumed, that exceptional individuals can operate outside established parameters. November 30, 2013. Auburn faced Alabama in college football's Iron Bowl rivalry game. Auburn trailed by 1 point with 1 second remaining. Alabama attempted a 57-yard field goal to win. The kick fell short. Auburn's Chris Davis caught the ball in the end zone and returned it 109 yards for a touchdown as time expired, winning the game. The play, known as the kick six, required such precise timing and execution that probability experts later estimated odds of approximately 1 in 75 million. For the kick six to succeed required a cascading series of precise events. The field goal had to be long enough to be attempted but short enough to return. Davis had to be positioned for a return rather than assuming a touchback. He needed a clear initial path through Alabama's coverage team. Blockers had to execute perfect assignments against defenders who weren't expecting a return. Davis had to maintain speed for 109 yards while avoiding 11 opponents. Any single failure ends the play. Instead, every variable aligned perfectly in the only second of a 4-hour game where perfect alignment would matter. The kick six didn't just win a game. It altered the trajectory of both program seasons, affected national championship races, influenced coaching careers, and became embedded in college football mythology. That 1 second of game time generated consequences that rippled through years of recruiting, bowl selections, and program prestige. It's a reminder that in sports, single moments can carry weight far beyond their duration. 1 second can define a season. 1 play can define a career. 1 impossible moment can echo through generations. February 5, 2017. The New England Patriots trailed the Atlanta Falcons 28-3 in Super Bowl 51. No team had ever overcome a deficit larger than 10 points in Super Bowl history. With under 20 minutes remaining, the comeback seemed beyond impossible. Then Tom Brady led the Patriots to 25 unanswered points, forcing overtime. New England won the coin toss, scored a touchdown, and claimed the championship. Analysts calculated the Patriots' win probability at 1 point dropped to 0.4%, making the comeback roughly a 1 in 250 shot. Brady's Super Bowl comeback wasn't just about New England's execution. It also required Atlanta's complete psychological collapse. The Falcons held a 25-point lead and needed only to maintain composure. Instead, they abandoned their successful rushing attack. They took a costly sack that moved them out of field goal range. They allowed a game-tying 2-point conversion. They lost the overtime coin toss and never touched the ball again. The probability of a team committing that specific sequence of errors while holding that large a lead approaches the infinitesimal. The Super Bowl 51 comeback added to Tom Brady's already improbable career statistics. By the time he retired, Brady had appeared in 10 Super Bowls and won 7, both records that may never be broken. He played until age 45, winning championships in 3 different decades. He threw for over 84,000 career yards and 624 touchdowns. Each number represents such an extreme outlier that statisticians struggle to find historical comparisons. Brady didn't just have a great career. He had a career that probability models suggest shouldn't exist. Basketball's most visually spectacular improbable moments often come from shots launched from distances that coaches actively discourage. Half-court heaves. Full-court prayers. Desperation throws at the buzzer. Players practice these shots occasionally, but game conditions add variables that make practice percentages meaningless. Defensive pressure, exhausted muscles, crowd noise, the weight of championship stakes. Yet somehow, when time expires and hope fades, these impossible shots occasionally find their target, producing images that define careers and moments that transcend sport itself. May 12, 2019. The Toronto Raptors and Philadelphia 76ers were tied in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. 4 seconds remained. Kawhi Leonard received the ball in the corner, heavily defended. He rose and released a high-arcing shot from near the three-point line as the buzzer sounded. The ball hit the rim. Bounced. Hit the rim again. Bounced again. A third bounce. A fourth bounce. Then, finally, it dropped through. Toronto advanced. Philadelphia went home. The shot bounced 4 times on the rim before falling, a sequence so improbable that physicists calculated odds near 1 in 100 million. For Kawhi's shot to fall required extraordinary physics. Each bounce changed the ball's trajectory, spin, and velocity in ways that could easily have ejected it from the rim. The first bounce had to redirect the ball upward with enough force to clear the rim but not so much that it bounced away. Subsequent bounces had to maintain a pattern that kept the ball contained within the rim's 18-inch diameter. The final bounce needed to kill enough momentum for gravity to pull the ball downward. 1 degree of difference in any angle likely produces a miss. Instead, physics aligned perfectly. May 13, 2012. Manchester City needed to defeat Queen's Park Rangers on the season's final day to win their first English Premier League title in 44 years. They trailed 2-1 entering stoppage time. The championship seemed lost to rivals Manchester United, who were already celebrating their expected victory. Then, in the span of 94 seconds, City scored twice. Edin Dzeko equalized in the 2nd minute of stoppage time. Sergio Aguero scored the winner in the 5th minute. City won the title in the most dramatic circumstances in league history. Aguero's goal produced one of sport's most iconic commentary moments. As the ball hit the net, announcer Martin Tyler screamed a single phrase that became forever linked with the moment, Aguero. The raw emotion in that word captured everything about the impossible comeback, the decades of disappointment, the explosion of joy. That commentary clip has been viewed hundreds of millions of times. It's played at Manchester City's stadium before every match. A single word became shorthand for an entire emotional experience that transcended normal sporting jubilation. August 1936. Jesse Owens traveled to Berlin for the Olympic Games as Adolf Hitler promoted Nazi ideology and Aryan supremacy. Owens, a black American athlete, proceeded to win 4 gold medals in track and field, dominating competition in front of Hitler and Nazi leadership. Beyond the political implications, Owens's achievement represented a statistical improbability that stunned athletics experts. Winning 4 gold medals in a single Olympics, across different events requiring different skills, occurs less than once per generation of athletes. Owens did it while carrying the weight of representing his race and country against fascist ideology. Owens won gold in the 100 meters, 200 meters, long jump, and 4x100 meter relay. Each event required distinct physical capabilities. Sprinting demands explosive fast-twitch muscle development. The long jump requires precise technique and coordination. Relay racing adds the variable of baton exchanges and team synchronization. For a single athlete to achieve Olympic-level excellence in all these disciplines simultaneously is roughly comparable to a baseball player winning MVP, Cy Young, and Rookie of the Year in the same season. It simply doesn't happen. August 16, 2009. Usain Bolt ran the 100 meters in 9.58 seconds at the World Championships in Berlin, setting a world record that still stands over a decade later. The performance shattered previous understanding of human speed limits. Bolt's time was 0.11 seconds faster than the previous record, a margin that in sprinting terms represents an almost incomprehensible gap. Sports scientists analyzed his biomechanics and concluded that his combination of height, stride length, and fast-twitch muscle fibers shouldn't produce optimal sprinting mechanics, yet somehow it produced the fastest human ever timed. Before Bolt, sports scientists believed humans had approached the physiological limit of sprint speed. Biomechanical models suggested that beyond certain thresholds, the human body simply couldn't generate more velocity. Bolt shattered those models by being an outlier in every measurable category. At 6'5", he was taller than optimal sprinter height. His stride length exceeded normal parameters. His start was notoriously slow, yet he still won by margins other sprinters couldn't match. He proved that exceptional individuals can operate outside the curves that define normal human performance. October 12, 2019. Eliud Kipchoge ran a marathon in 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 40 seconds, becoming the first human to break the 2-hour barrier for 26.2 miles. While the achievement didn't count as an official world record due to controlled pacing and other factors, it demonstrated that a barrier previously considered physiologically impossible could be broken. Kipchoge averaged 4 minutes and 34 seconds per mile for over 26 consecutive miles, a pace that recreational runners struggle to maintain for a single mile. He redefined human endurance. Kipchoge's achievement required optimization of every variable affecting marathon performance. He used cutting-edge shoe technology. Pacers rotated in formation to reduce wind resistance. The course was selected for ideal weather and elevation. Nutrition was precisely timed and calibrated. Yet even with all these advantages, Kipchoge still had to run the distance. His body still had to maintain a pace that pushes the absolute limit of human cardiovascular capacity. Technology created opportunity, but exceptional physiology and mental strength made the impossible possible. Most humans couldn't run that pace for 1 mile, regardless of technology. Simone Biles has performed gymnastics skills that no other female gymnast has successfully completed in competition. Her signature move, a double-twisting double somersault dismount from the balance beam, is so difficult that the sport's governing body rated it lower than its difficulty warranted specifically to discourage other gymnasts from attempting it and risking injury. Biles performs physics-defying movements that require generating rotational velocity her 4'8" frame theoretically shouldn't be capable of producing. She's rewritten what's considered possible in women's gymnastics. Biles has won a combined total of 37 Olympic and World Championship medals, making her the most decorated gymnast in history. She's won competitions while performing routines with higher difficulty scores than competitors need to even attempt. Judges have struggled to score her performances because she operates beyond the sport's established rating system. She forces gymnastics to evolve its standards to account for abilities that previous generations of athletes couldn't approach. Biles doesn't compete against other gymnasts. She competes against the theoretical limits of human movement. Across all these impossible moments runs a common thread. They happen not because athletes are superhuman, but because humans occasionally access capabilities that normal circumstances never reveal. Extreme pressure, championship stakes, and the convergence of preparation with opportunity create conditions where individuals transcend their usual limits. These moments remind us that statistical models describe what typically happens, not what must happen. They prove that possibility extends beyond probability, that the human spirit contains reserves we can't measure until someone demonstrates them. This is ultimately why we watch sports. Not for the expected outcomes or the predictable victories, but for the possibility that we might witness something that shouldn't happen. Every game carries the potential for a moment that defies mathematics, that breaks models, that reminds us why live sports can't be replaced by simulations. We watch because somewhere, somehow, an athlete might do something that makes us recalibrate our understanding of what humans can achieve. These 1 in a trillion moments are rare by definition, but their existence transforms every competition into a stage where the impossible waits patiently for its entrance. Right now, somewhere in the world, an athlete is training for a competition they'll probably lose. Statistics say they won't win. History says they can't overcome the obstacles they face. Probability models have already written the likely outcome. But that athlete continues training anyway, because sports history teaches us that impossible is not the same as never. The next 1 in a trillion moment is out there, waiting to happen. It will shock analysts, break models, and remind us once again that in sports, as in life, the most compelling stories are the ones nobody saw coming.